Got a picture from Clay. When
Oh, cool.
it's in
We're
Denver.
live, by the way.
Denver. Huh. Well, Clay's a good example. He could have stayed in college and tried to get some kind of a education that he can't easily transfer to a job, but he ended up working until he decided, hey, I might try air conditioning, and then he did the app called SkillCat, and didn't take him very long. He already knew a lot of the air conditioning things. We worked together on them. He understood it. So he was getting offers from Alabama, Detroit, Van Horn, Texas, Washington. There's a lot of. He was getting a lot of offers, and he ended up in Denver working for the medical college there, just out in a town called Aurora, just out on the edge of Denver, and good money and all the benefits. So he's been there a week now, which is hard on Christina and I. So
Miss my baby.
he was one of twins. His brother did similar. He also studied a course online. He paid $200 for, in addition to SkillCat. Got a certification through SkillCat, and did the other course, which is what I'm going to do. And then he got a job up there in Washington, being an air conditioner guy for a mall that had been there since the 60s, a real fancy high-end mall. And he, inside of 8 months, was making $35 an hour because they have good work ethics. And he got an offer from Blue Origin. He's making $45 an hour. So,
And now he's considering moving from Seattle to Texas.
yeah, he's been thinking, about it because they pay an extra $45,000 to move out to Van Horn, which is middle of nowhere on the border of Texas and Mexico, somewhere near that. And working on rocket stuff there, he'd do the air conditioning part. So when I was a kid, say 20s, like them, I could just about walk up to any construction site in Austin and get hired right there. Now, it's been a couple times that I was turned down. I had one guy later on in my career, when I told him all the different things I'd do, I said, I ain't hiring you because you'll be my competition for my job. So I learned not to tell everybody all the things that I could do. So now I think people are not really paying attention to. I don't think most people have an overview of why there's a shortage of good repairman, handyman, you want to call it, whereas there might have been, say, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I think Mike Rowe was talking about how that in the plumbing trades, for every 5 people that retire, 2 replace them. But he was, and he was interviewing a guy that owns a company called Groundworks. Went from like 20 million to 1.2 billion inside of 4 years or something. And it was more about letting his employees become owners of the company and share, profit sharing and all that kind of stuff. So if the company does well, they get bonuses. And again, where do you find qualified basement crawlers? People that jack up houses or take a jackhammer to a basement and to get to the leak underground. that knows those things. Those are things you have to teach in your own school. You're not going to go to a trade school and learn that. It's very unique, but it's a very he's in a whole bunch of different states. Like seems like he said 30, 32 or something. So he pays his people really well. So what's happening, and he mentioned too that welders, for every and they're retiring very quickly. For every 3 welders that retire, and I forget the numbers for their retirement, 1 replaces them.
That might be a setup that we consider, the way he's doing that.
Yeah. So what's happening is the old school guys are retiring. And very few people, most of those, like a handyman guy, generally, on occasion, most of them are, they kind of have somebody that works with them, and they don't, just because you have a repair business does not mean you're a good teacher. So people that work for you might not like you because you're a jerk to your employees or people that work with you, and then people that work with you don't get taught very well because you just don't teach very well. I worked with my own uncle, and it was hard. He was impatient and always in a hurry. Never had time to explain anything. He'd actually get irritated with me if I asked a question. So I had to stand like a parrot over his shoulder and try to see what he's doing, and ask questions after we're on the road. Why did you do this and why did you do that? Anyway, on air conditioning. So I personally think that most of the people a lot of the people that you see in the repair business now, which you would call sort of trades, maybe they're electricians, maybe they're plumbers, that do the little work on the side, but a lot of times you deal with people that are not honest and not very good at what they do, and not on time. They talk down the women, all those things, and you're like, why are those guys around and not the good ones? Well, those guys generally are not, what is the word? They're usually living with someone, married to them maybe, say like a nurse, and she has consistent income, and he goes out and kind of fumbles around.
She gives him a choice of either make some money or
go out there and makes things happen, and he'll get little jobs here and there that, if you give him 30% down, he might not show up, you might not see him again. So a lot of these guys you have to get to know, because I think they hang around because they don't have to make a go of it. They got somebody else that they live off of. They can, have a home, electric bill, and the food and all that's paid for by the wife that they're with or woman that they're with. I think a lot of people have shrunk down to like little bitty guys, single guys, have moved down to little bitty apartments, little campers, and they don't have very much overhead. So if they make any money at all, they don't have to be good at it. They don't have to have a good attitude. So, the shortage is the people who are really good. Whenever it slows and gets difficult to make it in the wintertime or right before Christmas or right before tax time, which is slow times for me, but there's others. Those people will have a family to take care of, and they say, you know what, I just can't do this anymore. I can't go through all the inconsistency. We have constantly monthly bills, and they'll just go to work for a company. And companies are trying to hire people all the time. I remember not terrible long ago, Mr. Sparky Electrical Company offered me $2,500 signing bonus, $25 an hour, and a van, and all fuel paid. just starting. And they just knew I had a repair business. They didn't know I was, good with electrical work. They knew I did it. They were willing to gamble. And there's a lot of other places that do things like that. There's a Handyman Connection, which there's a franchise, and their requirements are that you have 10 years of experience and no felonies. So that doesn't mean they're particularly qualified, but I'm sure there are ways to get those people to, and they split the wages that they charge with you. So what I'm leading up to is there's less and less people in the trades because we've been ignoring the trades for a long time. But we can't. If you know Mike Rowe with Dirty Jobs, there's so many things out there that we don't really think of as really necessary.
They're direly necessary.
But like when they work on your roads, when they're fixing sewers at the city, digging trenches and stuff like that to redirect water that is, flooding a certain area. The people who mow the grass in the parks, the people who paint all the city buildings and the county buildings, the people who maintain the vehicles for the county and the city and the state, those people maintain all those vehicles, equipment. If they weren't maintained, the county would just have to keep buying another because they don't, and take it to subcontractors to get, or a garage of some sort to get repaired, and it costs a lot of money. Now, I don't know how efficient all that is, because if you put government of any kind, and quite often it means inefficiency because people have you can't get rid of me kind of attitude. I think that what we're seeing is people in the trades have been discouraged to be in the trades for so long that there's less. How much advertising do you see for colleges, and how much advertising do you see for trade schools? And how do?
The last time I've seen an ad for a trade school.
Right.
And with all of what I do, it would automatically hit me.
I don't remember even advertising to do nursing.
Oh yeah, I get those all the time.
Well, that's because you've already had nursing experience. But going to nursing school, the advertising for that, I don't.
Yeah, they hit me up all.
Because she's got years and years of experience. So those trades.
It also has something to do with what I watch.
Right. So I think people look down on the blue collar guy, and what's happening now is people in the trades are starting to make very, very big money. As a matter of fact, if you're a single woman and you're wanting a guy, you're probably going to have to find a guy with a pickup truck. He's going to be driving a pickup truck and has callous hands.
Pickup truck.
Maybe not. Maybe, but it's going to be a truck because he's got to pick up his tools and pick up things and go from here to there. It's going to be a trades guy that you're going to find makes more money. And if,
and continues to gain in money.
Yeah, it's
Like
going
rapidly.
up. When my 24-year-old boys who don't even have a year of experience can make $45 an hour.
What's Drew making? Clay's
45. Clay's making 30.
Yeah.
He's only been working a week. I suggest that people will start to understand. I don't know how long it's going to take before government starts paying people to get into the trades.
Nursing's another one.
Nursing too.
It's horrifically, terrifyingly short and a great thing.
And
especially
everybody-
for a woman to get into. If you're in medical, you can work anywhere in the world.
Right.
Anywhere.
And
And make big money.
probably the same as a mechanic. A lot of mechanics are not working for dealerships anymore. They lead those dealerships because the dealerships do what they can to attract the
They don't pay shit.
new people, and they give the guys who have been there a long time all the bad work. So they end up leaving, either starting their own business or going into maintenance for fleets, big companies that have fleets of vehicles and equipment that have mechanical needs. So you can make really, really good money being that guy that repairs things. So that's starting to happen. I know that metal stud and drywall in all your big cities are, they're going to always make money. Electricians also, plumbers also, air conditioning guys, and so many others.
Anything that gets their hands dirty.
It's the guys who get their hands dirty that are going to make a lot of money. And it's a shame that we're teaching our children that they should look at college instead of the trades.
The trades are going to help our twins pay off those stupid student loans.
Right. So over and over again, we're going to see in the future that there'll be less and less available in each one of these trades. Each instance is another, example. Painters, carpet layers, carpenters, they frame your house, welders, mechanics. I don't know one of those. All the people that I know that are in those trades are making very good money. Very, very good money. And they can get online now and get offers from all across the United States. They can pick and choose.
Clay applied to like 40,000?
Whole bunch.
Yeah, 40,000 different businesses online. I was shocked.
There's a lot of different. That's for air conditioning. That's just for air conditioning. Imagine that. 40,000 jobs available just for air conditioning. So, over and over again, I personally see that people don't stay with the trades. The trades can get kind of, the companies don't think about the people in the trades as limited. They think about, I've always got another guy that I can hire. And that's not true anymore. It hasn't been true for quite a while. And they literally think that they can manipulate the markets by punishing the existing people in the trades that they have by saying, hey, we're not going to hire anybody for a while because everybody wants too much. So we're just going to wait and see what happens.
It's why Drew changed companies even though he wanted to stay with that one.
And I actually told him that they would match any offer he got, and then when it came down to it, they said, well, we can't do anything until after the first year when our budget comes up. So we can't match anything. So they didn't tell the truth. They could have easily paid that much. They just didn't want to change the fact because they're paying their guys who just do, put keys in doors and things like that with no real trade skills, but who work on the mall for all the, different things. They pay them more because the guy is a supervisor of all that labor, call them engineer in that particular place. They don't, he came from that.
Oh. Hey, Phil, do I need a contractor license to do small handyman jobs for people that pay me in cash?
Nope.
First of all, where do you live?
No, you wouldn't want to advertise. My brother was kind of advertising on Facebook.
Be careful of that.
And somebody called him up, said, hey, would you come and install I think it was a fan in Seattle for me? And he went there, and it was a guy that was there with the city to find him. Now, I don't want to make you paranoid about it. But he got a pretty good sized fine. I think it was $1,000, and the next one would be $2,000 or some big exorbitant fine.
But if you're out in the country and away from
Yeah.
over-regulated areas,
So what
or it's people you don't.
you're doing little things for people. There's no need to worry. The biggest thing that gets people in trouble in the big city is they throw the trash out in the front yard. Okay, the debris that you tore out, all the trash that you just throw it out in the front yard, and then somebody drives by and in the homeowners association or somebody like that wants a homeowners association, just that kind of person, calls the city and say, hey, they're doing work on this house, and I bet they don't. I don't see anywhere they have any permit out front, and they get, say a cease and desist, a red tag they call it in some places. So they're told you're supposed to pull a permit. Personally, I've not dealt with an inspector in 20 years. Not one. Not even one. Not even. I worked on a house for months that was a block and a half from the inspection department for Benton County, and they have like 15 trucks. They were going by that house constantly. Never ever had a problem. Code enforcement, they call themselves. You gotta understand what that actually was for is so if somebody had a contractor or a repairman working on their house and they did a bad job, like, is there somebody that could inspect this work and tell me if they're doing a good job? Because I didn't know that he was doing a bad job. And they go, oh yeah, we'll help you. And all you got to do is pay us $25. And there's no way that permit actually, pays for all that.
Well, and the other thing is that the homeowner, your general contractor, you actually work under the homeowner.
That's how I approach it. What she's talking about is if the homeowner wants to pull permit, I let them pull the permit. But I haven't had that happen yet. That's what I tell them. If you want to pull a permit, you go ahead. I work for you. I'm not going in as a general contractor. I work for you. You tell me if you want to pull a permit. You pull the permit. Go down there and say, hey, I'm taking charge of this project myself, and I'm going to hire people to work for me. And do I need to pull a permit? Now, if you ask them,
Yes.
They're going to tell you that if you put a shelf up in your house from IKEA or wherever,
or a bookcase.
Yes, they want. I mean, I've heard of people having their desk being inspected when they put their desks together because they thought they had to pull a permit. So I think now they charge $50, and if they fail, they got to come back again. That's another $50. But
Depends on where you're at.
So what I would say is, I roam around 5-6 counties, a lot of mileage, multiple states. Yeah. I've seen lots of code enforcement. People go by the job I'm on. I'm doing a metal roof or something. I've never had an issue, but I know that there are people out there that have. I know that I took over a job in a town about 60 miles from here, and it was for the Handyman Connection. He said, hey, we had a problem with them. They won't let us have a business in that town. That's a union town. They said, unless you have your office there, you can't have your business in that town. No matter that you have, the business license, we don't care. If you don't have an office there, you can't be there. There's some other things. But anyway, they were, again, this was a deal where somebody drove by and saw a bunch of, stuff from the walls and stuff, boxes and things that were thrown of the material out in the front yard. And the code enforcement shows up. I guess I wasn't there. And told them, you got to stop because you didn't pull the permit. Well, they sent me down there and said, hey, could you take this on? Because they already got kicked out for not pulling the permit. We have license to be in that town, but they won't honor us pulling permits. So would you consider doing it? I was like, yeah, I'll go down there. So I went down there and did the whole job. It took 2 days, and never had a hassle one. Same job, where they were told to cease and desist 2 weeks before. The homeowner was really nice, and it is a good example of, you don't, if you have a dirty, trashed out, bent up vehicle, you're going to get different attitude than if you're not clean. What is the word? Okay, there's a book called The Dress for Success. I think it came out in the 80s.
That late?
Maybe earlier.
Yeah, I think it was earlier.
And it talks about the colors of clothing that you wear, what types of shirts you wear, what type of pants you wear, if you wear shorts, how much. Okay, here's a simple one. The more hair you have on your face, the less people tend to trust you. And it says, that don't seem right, because there's guys with beards all over the place. Okay, but that doesn't change how people instinctively feel about you. You're not. It goes into great detail about it. How you handle yourself. So you shouldn't be lying about your skill level. You should be telling truth as much as possible. And generally, you'll find that those people will work with you because you have, you've been true.
Especially if you're willing to try.
Right. And so you're asking me, should I? Can I? Of course. Yes, you can. And you'll pick up skills. You'll be doing things you might not have done, or you might not have done exactly like that. But of course you can. And I think you can do a lot of service to people out there.
There's a lot of people needing a lot of repairs.
Especially elderly people. They're not good on ladders. Running into town might be an ordeal just to get in the car.
And the more jobs you do, if you're really good at it and you treat them right, they're going to tell everybody they know about it.
I have met guys that made money just setting hanging pictures. I mean, they focus on it.
I think it depends on the size of the place you live.
Right, and there are apps out there for people with pickup trucks that will send you to different places to haul off stuff for people.
Maybe we need to do a live on that.
I need to look more into it.
But I mean, maybe that would be something, make notes and do a live on that.
Yeah. You can actually knock on the door and say, hey, would you like me to haul off that trash for you or that stuff on the side of the house? And if it's any good, you can try to sell it to somebody, instead of taking it all to the dump. But you will have to know what the dump charges and what they allow, all those things. But believe me, there's a lot of people out there that just need somebody to haul off the stuff because they don't have a truck. And, most people don't even know where the dump is. And it'd be quite an ordeal for an elderly couple that have a hard time walking. Believe me, they want to sometimes, but they can't anymore. It's the same with building a dog house for the dog, or bird cages, being things they buy from, online or out of a catalog, if you will. That's kind of dated. They got to be put together. They would have somebody do that. Got scratch marks from whatever furniture being moved in the house. Can you paint this area? We have the paint already. And it just works into other things. Would you consider doing this? My toilet's leaking. Can you change the wax ring? Can you fix the fill valve? It just kind of moves. There's a lot of those kind of things that people, you know, although they have the same information as you, they don't want to do it, and they're willing to pay somebody. So if you call a plumbing company, a lot of plumbing companies aren't coming out for less than $200 just to pull up and walk around. They're not working. I know that sounds unreasonable, but it's the same way with air conditioning. It's getting to be the same way with wreckers. If you pick up other trades along the way and other skills, you might be doing flooring, you might be painting trim that got scratched up, and you learn all those things.
And take part of that money that you get with each job and invest in some more tools.
Exactly. I've never stopped buying tools. I think this week I bought a battery-powered air compressor, and I bought 3 chainsaws, smaller chainsaws. 2 used ones. Actually, I bought 4 altogether. I bought 4 chainsaws. And I sold one of them for the same cost I had in it to one of the guys that worked for me. He wanted that one. Now I had a job where we were cutting trees off of the fence line and about 10 foot back so that they could drive through there. Now I got to one tree I just couldn't cut. So we're kind of talking about whether or not, to cut. Those would have to be hauled off by a logging company. He said they would have to be cut 9'4". So anyway, you're talking about a new saw that would cut those kind of trees is like $1,600. A used one's going to be $800, $900. And you have to learn how to use those saws. You can easily get hurt, so you got to be careful. One of my jeans has got saw marks in the pant legs. Just brushed my pants. I could have easily cut into my leg. And that was just me being too reckless, trying to get things done. Then those tools tend to sit, and you have to go take it to somebody that works on small engines. And by the way,
that's another good place.
The guy I take to is just a modest, nice guy. But
we have a new question. There's a reason. You'll understand why I'm laughing. Phil, have you had people who would not pay after you completed the job, or do I need to ask for half up front before I start this job?
Yes. How many? Not very much. How do you tell? If you know people are going to be frustrating to deal with, it's better to walk away. If not, charge more for it. Because those people will tell you they've already run off 3 people and they're not going to put up with anything but the best work, and you really need the work, and you're like, oh, I'll see what I can do about putting it up. And then here's the classic one, and it's not happened to me for many, many years. They'll get you to do the work you were supposed to do, and then say, oh, but you said you would do this and do that and do that, and just keeps adding on. What's going on is they don't intend to pay you. You've already completed what you said you would, and you're ready to collect money, and they're like, oh, you said you would do this too. Could you do this for me too? And you're like, I'd like to get my money. Yeah, I guess I'll do that. Well, they just keep doing that. That just happened to one of the guys who used to work for me. What's the last one? The people from California, was that the last ones that didn't pay me?
Yeah, but that was a huge amount.
So we did probably $20,000 worth of work for these people.
And they tried to flip the charges on.
And they paid with credit card. Now, this is something else you need to realize. The credit card companies that take your credit cards and turn them into your account.
Especially PayPal.
PayPal will listen to the customer. Like in this case, nobody else but PayPal listened to the customer saying, we're not happy with the product. And they called us and we said, no, that was a service. It's not a product.
Showed them proof.
Right, all kinds of proof. But they still wanted to honor, so we closed our account so they couldn't hit it. And it's good we did, because they did try to hit it.
That was like...
So we don't use
almost
PayPal
$6,000.
anymore. $5,000?
No, I think it was closer to $6,000.
$6,000?
It's like $5,800.
So we stopped that. I did lose $700 on that one.
But we knew they were getting squirrely.
Yeah, well, when they start having a hard time paying.
And you have to flip different credit cards and...
Yeah, so how do you get past that? Well, listen to your instincts. If it's try to get paid in increments. Don't try to, instead of doing 30% up front, when you pull up, try to collect your money for materials and labor. So now you're not running off with their money. You actually are there with the materials and labor. If you can't afford to buy the materials, have them pay for it, and you do a will call. Will you go by and pick it up? And then, of course, you're exposing yourself how much, your labor actually is. So a lot of guys try to mark up materials 3 times. I personally don't, which makes me really inexpensive. And Christina says because of that, people think I don't know what I'm doing.
It's not just that; it's your hourly wage too. For the experience you have, the hourly wage is way too low.
So I try to get, for me, $60 an hour.
Which is too low.
And yeah, we're getting to that point where there's a lot of other people charging way more than me.
The last thing we charged was they were charging 10 times, 15 times more than we would have for the job.
Yeah. So, what are other things earmarks for people that are not going to pay, besides being jerks? Whenever they start getting squirrely with their payment, trying to change different credit cards and different accounts, and can you hold on to this for 3 days? It's time to take a break. You need to find something to do for a little bit until they get it together.
Do not work for people that you have not met.
Yeah, we also don't work for anybody that I haven't met. There's an exception.
There's a couple, but
they are owners of a clinic. When they call me up, I go do work, and they pay about 10 days later, something like that. I don't normally do that kind of work because I don't know they're going to pay. And as a matter of fact, the first time I did work for this company, they didn't pay. And it was accidental, some kind of miscommunication. So the second time he called me, go do more work. I said, well, being that you didn't pay me the first time, I probably won't be doing work for you this time. He's like, what? Like indignant? I said, yeah, the last one I didn't get paid. Let me check into that. I'll get back with you, Mr. Phil. He's an 80-year-old man, He's come to find out it was the accounting department that slipped up somehow.
Yeah, we no longer go through the accounting department. We go directly through him.
Right. So I travel around a lot for them, but that's one where it's accidental. And some of the things that I do are, if when I show up, then you can give me percentages. But what I generally try to, most of the time I do, is when I get, if it's a big job, I don't want them to pay me half, because that means at the end of the job there's half hanging on.
Usually we get paid weekly.
Yeah, that's the reason why. Like, I try to get paid in percentages. If it's a real big job and they're really trying to be everything professional, I do percentages. Like, if it's a really big job, it's like 10% at a time. When we get to this point, we'll call it 10%, 15, 20%, 30%, 40%, that kind of thing. That way, at the end of the job, there's only 10%. If they want me to finish, they're going to at least let me get to where I finished the job, and there's only 10% sitting there. And if you ever have a question about whether or not they'll be able to pay, add more money. Don't wait till you finish to get paid. Tell them up front and put it in writing what you will do. Make it clear. Good fences make good neighbors. Make it clear what you're going to do, and then do it. And do it on the time that you say you're going to do it. So they don't have things they can point at. They can look at anything and say, well, you didn't do this or that. Through the years, I've had a lot of different, probably 10 people who didn't pay, 15. Most of the time, it's just they never intended to pay. It's not anything but that. And I think the people from California, they kind of got into it and decided, hey, we can. They're from California, so they don't really care about the local guys. And where they're from, you can rip people off and move on to the next guy. There's plenty of them. Well,
not so much back here.
Not so much here, especially out in the rural areas where they are. And you're dealing with somebody, in my case, that has a wide range of skills. So not just one thing, but now you got to deal with multiple contractors to replace me. I think they intended to not pay. So those are the things you want to watch.
And you can tell by how they act.
They kind of talk down to you. Try to be aggressive. Pretty smart aleck on occasion, not always. Sometimes you get into people that run out of money and they don't tell you. It's still up to you to determine, by what you see and the way they talk, whether or not hey, let's stop for a little bit, How about, I need to go take a week and go over and do this other job. Give you some time to figure out exactly what you need to do. So, will it happen? Yes. And it will hurt your feelings in addition to hurting your pocketbook. It will hurt your feelings. You will know that you didn't deserve that treatment, but they did it to you anyway. Especially if you do some fantastic work and really worked hard for them.
And let them get too
And
far
then they
ahead.
tell you that I didn't lose any money on the job, but I had a guy that wanted me to come back. And his way of telling me he wanted me to come back, it was spray and texture that he had a problem with. Okay, and he had already seen it with lights, and actually non-flattering lights. Like things with shadows, it shows all the imperfections, and he was happy with it. But he got unhappy for some reason, and he's not a happy guy. He was in the middle of a divorce. He told me, he said, it looks like a pig with lipstick. I'd already told him, had discussions with him twice. That if you
pack up twice.
Yeah. If you don't stop talking trash, we're going to pack up. And he had to wait until he saw me packing up. And I've had to deal with people like that. They'll hurt your feelings because they're trying to justify what they're going to do, which is to not pay you or try to get you to do more than, it was just sort of like a discount, getting you to do more than what you said you would because you want that last little bit of, if they're holding 50%, if it's a $5,000 job, they got $2,500. Do you not think that you will do extra things to get that, even though you didn't agree to do that? You would do extra things to get that $2,500 because now you need that money.
Yep.
You see why you would not want to have that much hanging out there? Especially with somebody that you don't feel good about. You don't want more than 10%. So how do you do that? It's like you explain to them up front, I may have to go do other emergencies along the way, and so that may delay me. But I expect you to pay me on Friday. So leave the job unfinished on Friday so that you can come back on Monday and Tuesday. Maybe only have 2 days left to do. And if they don't pay you on Friday, you don't go back on Monday and Tuesday. Does that make sense?
I think he's back. He was off for a while.
So, there has been times where I knew that they were struggling, and I worked with them on trades and things like that, for even as much as vehicles. Um, I don't. I think what you need to do is understand you're providing a service, and there's nothing perfect. Even glass has ripples in it. And it's your biggest thing is to not be unpleasant yourself, like smashing your finger and cussing up a storm in a house with a bunch of kids. You know, it's your job to make their lives better in my world. It's, you know, so I tell my guys, hey, don't be talking that way. Let's keep focused on doing the best job we can. I mean, there's some companies that tell you that your employees should not look the customer in the eye and all that. So I don't believe in that. They should always provide way more than what they actually agreed to do, and that is a good habit. But the problem with doing more than what you said is sometimes you get into something that makes you end up having a whole lot more work because you were just trying to fix that one little thing. There's a piece of loose trim over there. I'm going to take it off and then pull the nails and refasten it. When you pull it off and break the trim, now you got to find a matching trim. And there's like, what happened? You know, now you got to paint it. You got to protect, you know, the area that you're painting. You can, I promise you, if you do more than what you were saying, be careful that it doesn't lead to even more work, because you got, and you didn't, that's not what you agreed to do, and you're doing it, and something else got broke. I remember I had a guy that was trying to help them fasten some paneling, and it was behind a washing machine, and he didn't talk to me about it, but it was okay. I would have probably said it was okay. But he ran a screw in the wall, and he hit pipe. So now the water's flooding behind the wall, so we got to find out how to shut the house off.
Quick.
And it was all the way out like 200 feet away in a kind of a hidden spot. So the water ran for a long time. So we had to open the wall up, find out what kind of material it was, replace it, patch it, turn the water on, see if it holds, and then put the, you know, drywall back on, texture back on, all the finishing texture, paint, and then trim. I'm telling you, it was just him trying to do a little bit extra. Could you fasten this wall? It seems real loose right here. And he put the screw in and it hit a pipe. That's just one of many examples I can give you. Make sure that what you're doing is covered and in the scope of work that you agreed to do. I believe you that you need to do kind things whenever you get a chance. Be careful that they don't lead into a lot more work or a lot more responsibility on your part, because you should have, you know, not known. You should have known that that door would fall off its hinges when you were working on the doorknob. You know, somebody asks you, hey, could you fix that door while you're here? Yeah, I mean, I've done it. And then the doorknob fell off, one side of it. I didn't do that, you know. Now I feel obligated to, you know, and they're not even paying me for this stuff. They don't even offer because, oh, this is just a favor thing and you broke my house. They don't say it, but it's not like hanging in the air. So, that, you know, do what you say you're going to do. Let them do what they say they were going to do. Try not to get yourself, if you go and take half up front, they got to trust you. And then at the end of the job, you got to trust that they're going to pay you. You know, I have a hard, fast rule. If you start messing with my money, then I end the relationship. And so a lot of times I let them keep the money because I'm not going to argue with you about it. If you start messing around with my money, not paying me, then that relationship will end. And I don't know why people don't understand that. You cannot have a guy working for you and then you go on vacation or you go to a party.
Oh, we've had that happen.
Right. It's horrible to be treated that way.
Because we have people to pay.
Yeah, I could have been somewhere else making, things happen with them instead of working for somebody that's going to be gone for a week. And, hey, sorry we left. I guess I didn't tell you we had to be out of town, da 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 da. And we'll be back on da 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 date. Yeah. That's okay if you know.
Or they pick up the phone and put it in the car.
Right. So that will it happen to you? It will, and it will hurt your feelings. So you kind of, I wouldn't think it's going to happen all the time.
It does.
But I think what happens is when you're inexperienced and unconfident because of your inexperience, aggressive people will try to take advantage of that. It's just an instinctual thing. I had a woman that I did work for in old part of town. It's all fancy. Those houses are real expensive. Historic homes, beautiful homes, even back when they were built. I did all this work for her, and she owed me, I think it was like $1,000. This was many, many years ago, like 25 years ago. And so I was talking to her, and I stood, there, and I was like, so if you see me in this town, which is not very big, it's not going to bother you that you owe me money? Because I'm just not going to pay. Why? Because I don't want to. So it's not going to bother you. And she goes, no, not going to bother me at all. Okay, I'm done. So I had somebody with me. My uncle sent his son with me, my cousin, to, learn from the way I do things. And he goes, why didn't you sit there and try to convince her to pay?
She's not going to.
Because it's not going to happen. So how do you know that? Because I know human nature. So can you put a lien on their house? Yes, you can. But what does that lien mean? It doesn't mean you're going to court. You can go to small claims court up to $5,000, and you can go to court after that.
That's a lot of stress.
In that time, you're really upset and angry for much longer than if you just didn't get paid. So you have to decide how much of that stress and anger that you're going to have, if it's worth it. So I generally walk away from that. I don't put liens on people's houses anymore. I kind of think of it as par for the course. You're going to find 1 out of 30, 40 people that are just not good people. Not good at all. So in the trades, you will run into that. Their problem is what we were talking about. There's less and less people who do it.
You burn line tradesmen.
Yeah, the word gets out. So you will have to expect that. So I suggest you don't spend all your money so that you have to have money from this person, because they could leave you high and dry.
Make sure you have a cushion money-wise.
You should have some.
Don't spend all your money.
Yeah. I had a guy that was working for me, and I knew he knew what he was doing. I left him in the bathroom, and he worked and worked and worked on it. I finished all the outside, which is a massive project, and you got the bathroom done? Yeah, doing all drywall finishing. So the owner calls me up, hey Phil, you and I are longtime friends. Could you come out and look at this bathroom? It's like, sure, I'll be over there tomorrow. I went over there the next day and was like, holy cow, this guy painted with different colors.
Oh my God.
It's still yellow, and it's close, but you can see the differences. Instead of painting to the corner with this and to this corner with that, where it might not show as much, he just kind of slopped it in and painted over the places that were scratched. His drywall finishing was horrible. I don't even know why he did it that way, knowing full well he was going to get called out. It took me a long time to straighten that out. Because taking off drywall mud is worse than putting it on, especially after it's been painted, because it fills up your sandpaper. So yes, you will have times when your quality is off, when you miss something, and you will have to go back out there. So again, have that reserve. When you're at the point where I'm at, the amount of reserve is thousands of dollars. 1,000 or two you need to have. I used to have $5,000 in my pocket all the time. I don't think you should have to do that. You could get robbed. So just try to be careful. You're going to get hit. People are going to make an issue, you know. How many times? Not very much. Because if they do, there's not hardly anybody to replace you. So hopefully I didn't waste a lot of your time, but I think what we're looking at when you have 3 people retire and 1 to replace them, and 5 people retire and 2 people replace them, we at some point are going to hit this tilt where the whole thing just tilts to the guys who are in the trades. So they have to get paid a lot of money because there's not many of them. Okay? Not many of them. So it's to the point where plumbing, electrical, air conditioning, painting, they're making up prices now. I don't know where they're getting these prices from, because some of it doesn't make any sense. So, you know, what we're seeing is these guys are getting used to robbing people. It's normal. They can charge that much. You know, they got a $70,000 vehicle that loses $4,000 a year in value, and they got a office that they rent, and they got trailers that they're making payment on. They got employees that are trying to leave for other places, so they have to give them money begrudgingly. You know, they just say, you know what, I'm going to charge $14,000 to put your air conditioner in. It cost me $3,000 plus labor, maybe some Freon, but I'm going to charge you $14,000. I mean, I don't care if you don't like it. And you're like, I'll find somebody else. The next guy goes, yeah, I'll do it for $12,000. Cost me $3,000 plus labor plus Freon. You're like, what? You don't know that it costs $3,000. I'm telling you that the air conditioning system does. So it's bad conscience, high overhead bad conscience, mostly bad conscience. There's at no point should your team, a team of 2 guys, maybe 3, work one day, which would cost you what, $700, $800 in labor. Work one day, and you're making $8,000 profit. The company is making $8,000 a day profit. Is that for just a team of 2 people, maybe 3? Anyway, eventually we will all come to grips with the fact that the trades are going to get paid that much. You can complain all you want. We did not teach children to go into the trades. We did not treat the trades properly. Didn't pay them properly. And we're talking about, these, you can even do the work and they don't pay you. How is that teaching people to stay in the trades?
Also, your equipment.
Equipment wears out.
Yeah.
Yeah, those chainsaws that I bought, next year I'll have to have them tuned up.
And we bought the chainsaws because we sent tools with our boy.
Right. Well,
We needed them anyways.
I needed the chainsaws. So I'm tilting everything toward this one thing. The trades are going to end up getting paid money, guys. Because who wants to get... I got a scratch on this finger, a scratch on this finger, several scratches in my palm. How many scratches you get like that working in an office? I have sore muscles.
Bruised up.
Yeah, I'm bruised. Of crawling around on my knees on the last job till 8:30 at night. Scratched up, bumped heads, you know, and
3 days you didn't get home till 11 o'clock.
you don't always have to work that late. I'm just saying, what job at the office or at the factory get those kind of scratches and beat up? The trades are doing things that in weather that you guys don't have to deal with if you're that that office guy. The weather you don't deal with it when it's real hot or really cold or raining or snowing. They do. They have to get the vehicle to get to your house. So I think what we're going to see is the people who do the trades are going to make a lot of money. And that there's nothing you can do about it. There's just not enough of them. Not enough, period. So when my 23-year-old son was applying, he found 40,000 places to apply for air conditioning. 40,000.
Yeah, he wasn't even going after the different things he had experience with. He was only going after the
Only
stuff
air
with his
conditioning. He could
license.
do so much more. 40,000 jobs. You might have to travel, but it's 40,000 jobs. Trades, guys. That's where it's at. You have to be willing to get tired, dirty, hot, cold, wet. It's where it's at. I'm not trying to be sad. I'm just trying to embrace that's what's happening. I expected that young people would be competing with me.
Not so much.
I don't see it. The closest ones that competitors are my sons, and they're in another state, both of them. They could take on what I do, and probably make more money than me.
They're actually talking about us having divisions.
Right. So anyway, I wanted to talk more about that. I may talk even more after this.
Yeah, I think this is another subject we need to cover again. It's such a large subject that.
But I'm happy to answer any questions. Please don't feel shy to ask.
Drop any questions into the chat or into the comments, because we always look at those questions. He always answers comments. Always.
Right. I should remind you guys, there's no script, that I talk to you from. So when I'm telling you these things, they're not practiced. Don't get me wrong. I can, if you want me to do a public speaking situation, I can do it.
Public speaking.
Hundreds of people, I've done it.
More.
I don't do that with you guys. Not because I have less respect than I did those situations where I was public speaking, but because I want you to feel like I'm telling you something straight from the heart, from what I know, not something I made up and I've written out.
Presentation.
Yeah, I don't sound like AI, do I? So I suggest, that as AI replaces other things, it will not replace the trades. AI is not going to get in the ditch and pull out that rock that the machine can't get to.
They keep saying it will, but I find that hard to believe.
It's not going to happen. I'll give you, for instance, in order to have all this computing power, AI power, all that stuff, all the servers that it takes, that they're talking about saving information on. Some of these companies are using so much electricity, they're thinking about building their own nuclear plant. How much is all that worth? And who's going to build the nuclear plant, by the way?
Gotta have your blue collar boys to build it.
Yeah, it's not going to be a robot. It's not going to be a remote control drone. And those things, It's just like the advent of the computer. They all have their place. They end up not taking as much of the world as they think. And AI, artificial intelligence, would be the same thing. It will have its place. It will be abused and used too much,
Already is being.
and it will find out that's not what it's needed for. So, I will talk to you guys more. And even though I'm tired and don't feel good, the only time I don't do it is when she is sick or I'm sick, or some emergency like that. Anytime I've missed, I apologize, and I want to leave you guys with the idea that
Phil, have you had someone you're doing a job for want to help you do the work for a discount, and then you find out they don't have any carpenter skills?
yes, but I still try to use them. Usually they don't want to get in my way because I've had them tell me they can paint. They would like to help me paint. And then they start hitting their own floor and their ceiling with the roller pad. I can go on and on. It's
But he has the patience to let his wife, before I became his wife, help tile the bathroom.
right.
And not get impatient.
Yeah, so if you're getting paid hourly, you don't care. Yeah, I understand. You want you don't want them to do it wrong, but you're trying to help them. Well, your real obstacle is you're trying to make their life better. How are you making their life better? By telling them they're not any good at what they're doing.
If you're working hourly, which in that situation I would want to work hourly.
Yes, if they're going to work with you,
it's hourly.
It's hourly. There's your discount. You can plug in, then I work less hours, fine. If you want to dig that ditch instead of me, if you want to carry off all the trash, then you save me having to get paid to do it. So if they want to help and they want a discount that way, make sure it's hourly.
Yep.
An hourly rate. It's like, well, I want whatever. That way,
You've got the time.
if they break something,
It's
or
on there.
you just get more time to fix it.
Or you have the time to actually help them. If you go to that point, you can actually take the time to help them and
Show them how to hold the brush or use a
Whatever.
finishing knife to cut in an edge. I can go on. Yes, carpentry work is one. Drywall finishing. I don't know how many people told me, "Oh yeah, I know how to finish drywall." No, you don't. Let me show you how I do it. Oh my goodness, you're making it look so easy. Because I've been doing it for a long time. Well, can I watch you and learn how?
You can try.
It took me 12 years to get, well, now nearly much more, many years to get to this point. How are you going to learn by just watching me one time? It's not going to happen. You will learn that you don't know a lot. And you will get more skills and know how it should be done and how it looks. But it takes a while.
Practice.
Yeah. So that's what you want to go to hourly when somebody wants a discount like that. Look, if I do this, they don't have a contract with you for what they're going to do.
Yeah, you're not going to cover if they mess up.
So if you're under a contract and they want a discount because they're going to help, where's that in your contract? The customer says that they will haul off all the trash. That's what it needs to say. The customer says they're going to do the painting. The customer says they're going to, you need to put it in your contract. If you're going to try to stay with a contract, I personally would go hourly. Because then you can take the time to teach them what you know. And believe me, you're better off teaching. You become a better person by teaching.
You learn more too.
Yeah, the review's everything for you. I hope that answers your question. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you guys next week. Take care.
Any questions in either here or somewhere in the video?